Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well in 2025. It's been a wild one to say the least, with all the stuff going on in the news as of late. But I, it's going to be a good start to our year, nonetheless, because we're going to have Mr. John joining us because he was there towards the ending of his blue light career. And we had a little bit of his phone died. We had him on a little long and his battery died. So, what we're going to do today is, since he went an hour and 52 minutes with us last month, we're going to kind of just pick up where we left off. Him speaking a little bit about blue light. I've got a few questions. If y'all have got some questions, go ahead and start getting them in that maybe y'all didn't ask last time, and we can do some questions. And then we're going to have Mr. John cover his post-military career and then speak about some of his books, because he's got some very interesting books in a series that he's writing or has written. And I'm going to be linking his Amazon book profile into the show notes, to where if you want to hop on there and order a book or two, by all means, please do that. So, um, I'm trying to remember. I was looking and trying to figure out the exact moment we left off in December last month when we went. And I believe we had just got done talking about the sticky pads and um, your you being selected for the maritime section. And would you kind of like to, if you don't want to, you don't have to kind of go through the whole sticky pad story and all of that, but you could, to reintroduce us, could you kind of talk about your entry into blue light and then the maritime section specifically, and we'll kind of pick off from there.
Yeah, there's one thing I wanted to talk about first, though, and
Absolutely.
going back to being a combat medic. One of the things that we did was dentistry.
Mm.
We went a little OJT with some dentists there at Fort Bragg before we were deployed, and then went over. And from then on, it was we did have the ability to fill, but mostly it was yanking them out. We did that for quite some time. But
Believe that was your 1963 tour when you were
yeah,
a medic right there.
yeah,
Yeah, geez. And like we were talking about, I mean, from everybody we've talked to, from the Marines and their corpsmen and this and that, and everyone else we've had on, they've all said that there's no one better than a special forces medic. So we always love hearing about what the learning process for that. So that was very enlightening, hearing about you were still in early enough to when the dog lab was going on, and unfortunately PETA lost their marbles, and y'all had to transition to the goat lab. And I don't know what's going on now, if what they're doing, but that's always been an interesting point, and I always get questions about that, as a matter of fact. So I was glad for you to bring that up as well. Um, did kind of carrying on with the medic part, actually, when you got into blue light, were you doing any updated, since you were originally a combat medic, were you doing any kind of updated medic work or anything of like that? Or were you, since you were maritime, were you strictly working with the water and halo and all of that? Or
well, we did. We I was stationed down at the facility in Key West, and it was good cover. It's what I was doing. We were supposed to be training all the divers. I had already passed as a diver, so was able to lay a little stuff in there, and we did things like when civilians would get the bins, we'd bring them in and put them in the compound and bring them out of it. We did a lot of rescues of idiots that thought they were able to swim a lot further than they were.
so
This,
is this the combat diver course at Key West, the location that Mr. Walt Shoemate found and helped stand up and all of that?
Yep, same one.
Wow, wow. I've got a placard. I don't know. I've never been down there, of course, not a veteran, but there's a placard of graduates through the years, and I think I've got pictures of 70, 80, and then 90, and there's quite a few SOGmen names on there that I can recognize. And a matter of fact, your name might have been on there. I need to look that up now that that's crossed my mind. There are a lot of names that I recognized on that wall, including Mr. Waltz. Um, did
Yeah,
you, with your diving expertise and with Delta about to stand up, did you and Mr. Walt ever cross paths in these days with Blue Light and Delta?
yeah, we crossed paths. We uh, we did not get along.
Oh no, oh
Uh,
no.
so we stayed away from each other.
Cross paths, but kept clear of one another.
Basically, it.
Wow,
Thing
wow.
big thing we other than working there at the Key West was to try to figure out just after the Kelly Laurel had been taken over. So we're trying to figure out a way how to get people on board the ship. You can't jump in. There's way too many wires and everything else. You can't land on it. Same reason. So you have to figure out another way on getting on board that ship. So that became interesting just in itself. Would basically finally the only way that we came out to do it was to go in through the shit chute. We had sticky legs and sticky arms, and we'd pogo our way up through there and get in that way. I was very glad I never had to do that actually, other than just practicing. But my biggest fear was for them to fire up that engine again and start taking off, and then all the scrap come floating down, and then we'd meet the we'd meet a problem there with the props.
Oh gosh almighty, yes. Jeez Louise. Well, with y'all finding this particular insert method, were all of the cruise ships or the ships that y'all were thinking or might think that were going to be overtaken, did they have the same setup, or did y'all have to work on different setups for each boat system to?
Different setups. You never knew which one was being taken over that you had to get onto. So they'd come in there and hit the harbor, and we'd go out and talk to them a little bit and to get them to cooperate, and then work on that particular ship that particular day.
How many men, if it was to go down, what would be the man size team that y'all would be going up the chute with? Because it seems like you couldn't have that many in that chute at one time.
Yeah, we basically how we did was we had the stickies. It was socked onto the side of it, climb up, and then sock it on the other side for a little further and go up that way. It was arduous to say the least.
Yeah, yeah, I can only imagine. How many operators were going up the chute at a time for
Four.
four at a time? Oh wow, jeez Louise. And in that particular situation, is there some methods or some activities? Some people say it's worse to be first or last or what have you. Was there a difference in going up first or last, besides you being out of the chute first and in enemy territory, so to speak, or was it all the same once you got going? You were just climbing up till you get
So,
out.
yeah, once you got going, it's pretty much the same. You had differences in the ship itself, but getting rid of the trash was pretty much the same all the way through.
Mhm. And were y'all's infiltration methods, the chutes and everything, were they fairly big, or did y'all have to worry claustrophobia setting in and all of that going up these things?
Claustrophobia was
Oof.
we couldn't couldn't put any claustrophobic people in there. It was very close, and of course, sorts of things can happen when you're in the actual situation. Obviously, when we were testing, we wouldn't let them dump anything down the trash bin. But then you had to expect that that was a possibility. What are we
Holy.
going to do? Just stick yourself to the wall and wait for it to stop.
I mean, I can picture that like in a movie, but geez, real life, y'all on a real life mission, and somebody's still doing their work while this whole incident's going down and just heaving trash down on top of y'all. I could only imagine what that would have been like for y'all. God Almighty.
Was
Uh,
pleasant, to say the least.
I second that thought. Did when you had mentioned four men going up the chute, um, would this have been the whole plan? Would this have been four men trying to take it, or once y'all got up and cleared an area, would more men come up over the sides or helo in, or were your four men taking the mission?
Yeah, most of these ships had a landing area on it. So basically, our mission was to get up, secure that area, and the birds come in and put all the people in that we needed.
Holy cow! So pretty much y'all are there. Y'all got to clear it, hold it, and until the cavalry comes in.
Yep, exactly.
Wow, tip of the spear. Again, that's wow, wow, wow. Um, there was
It was always funny that Oklahoma boy, the only swimming I did was in a farm pond. I took to the water just it was natural to me.
that's wild, and I've heard a few stories like that. Some great Green Beret combat divers or Force Recon divers that they had literally never swam. Either they had swam once or twice in a pool or something, or had never touched the water and then just took to it like a duck takes to a pond. It's amazing how stuff like that, your natural innate abilities start to come out like that.
And you also find when at the school there, you can also find that the people who are not suited to that, we put them through all sorts of drills on diving, and basically had them in the one pool, and we wouldn't let them up. Uh, See which one would panic and just wait it out, and other ones that would go start thrashing, and then basically that was the end of their training. They go on for something else.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I've heard tales of just my dad and when he was a grunt with the Marine Corps, drown proofing and all of that. And I can only imagine how stepped up it must be when they've got instructors like y'all down there messing with them, putting them through the paces to make sure they're not going to freak out because uh, you put somebody in water, even if they're good, and start fidgeting with them or doing something, you can get a rise and figure out if who's comfortable and who's not. I mean, that's water. It's a cruel mistress, shall we say? It doesn't hide any secrets.
Yeah, it was interesting to see the difference. I mean, these were all swimmers, but it's all above ground. And our deal was to put them under the water. It shaped up pretty quick as to who could hack it and who couldn't.
And you mentioned when guys couldn't and began panicking and such that you said, I believe they went on and found something else to do. Would that entail being removed completely from blue light, or would they be still trying to find their place in blue light if they fell out of the maritime section?
Basically, blue light was, I used the area down there as my cover. But no, they didn't have anything to do with the actual operations or the experiments, I should say.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Man, that's I mean, oh, I hope his phone didn't die on us. Wow. We'll give him just a minute. That's crazy, guys. They're doing like super secret, like compartmentalization inside Key West Dive School. I mean, that's insane. I mean, you've got SEALs, Green Berets there, SEALs and SF combat divers there teaching new classes of divers. I mean, it's a tough school from what I've heard. I mean, like Ranger School in water, basically. I mean, they work you to death, then get you in the water and try and make you freak out. And there he is running a even more super secret school and using the dive school itself as cover for blue light training. Frank, your dad was a dive team man. That's that they don't play around. There was a lot of dive teams that went to Afghanistan that absolutely kicked arse. I mean, the dive team guys are studs. Um, let's. Oh, here he is. He's back. Let's get him on. Hang on.
I thought I was fumble fingering.
It's all right, sir. Uh, yeah, I mean that's just amazing. I was talking to the listeners while we were getting you back on. I mean, for people that don't know it, dive school, SF Combat Dive School or Dive School at Key West is a hard school enough as it is just the dive school. And
Yeah,
there you are in a secret capacity, if you will, using the dive school as cover for blue light training. And I mean, that's amazing. That's just amazing. And speaking of that, because I know some SEALs pop up down there every now and again, and actually do go through the class. Were the SEALs around during blue light training, or were
no,
they completely kept out of the loop on that as well?
we kept that under the blanket on that. Nobody knew about it except the people who were working on it.
Wow, that is just absolutely amazing. And was that for what you were doing, the training and the weeding out process, shall we say, was that exclusively down at Key West? Y'all didn't go anywhere else since that was the main dive school and everything that you used Key West?
For special forces, yeah, there was a school for the SEALs over on the other coast.
Oh, Coronado, yes, sir. Okay. Wow. Did you ever find yourself over there for some reason, doing anything with the Navy or?
No, never, not any realistic. Yeah, go to a bar and fuss with each other. That's about it.
Love that. That's hilarious. Let me see. Jason is a Oklahoma boy, and he wanted to say a quick thank you to you as an Okie. I was proud the first time I heard his story, and I sent him an email thanking him for telling it. John replied, thanking me for my interest, and that helped towards my passion for MACV-SOG history. Since then, I've been able to create the MACV-SOG X account and befriend me, as well as many other SOG men. Couldn't have done it without you, Mr. John. Thank you. And that was June of 2022. So, yeah, wow, that's amazing that you linked up with a fellow Okie like Mr. John. That's amazing. We've been trying to figure out all the Oklahoma boys in SOG and all of that, and there was quite a few actually that we're starting to find out were in SOG.
Yeah, yeah, there were a lot of my friends were Okies, still are.
Special Forces for that matter too, but even SOG as well. A lot of Oklahoma boys in there. I've always thought that's interesting where the largest uh, populace of special forces and all of that come out of. I always find that geographically and all of that. It's pretty interesting stuff to me. Yes, Frank, there are SEALs nowadays always assigned down at Key West, rotating and all of that.
Yeah. However, after they threw me out of Vietnam, told me I could never go back. They went to Bad Tolts to the 10th group there, and we ran a scuba school out of there.
Wow. Okay, and that's like the dead A guys and all of that training with the comp swimmers and all the canals and all of the waterways in Berlin and all of that.
Yep.
I've read some pretty wild stories of the dead A guys. I mean, I didn't realize all of the waterways throughout. There's a map, and it is just inundated with causeways, waterways. I imagine some of them are secret, but it's almost like a underwater roadway down there that y'all could just pop up anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It was fun, but there were a lot of other things that we did there that mostly people don't know about. We, for one of the things there we helped to get people who wanted to get away from the communists. We could help them do that. One of the interesting things was we were working on the wire, had cut a couple of pieces there, and I heard something that was just strange as hell. It was sounded like somebody was breathing really hard. It wasn't. It was a dog. They had taken the vocal cords out of their dogs, so you wouldn't know anything about them until they were on top of you, and they were trained to attack.
Holy cow! These are the East German dogs.
Yep.
Oh my God! Wow. And I imagine they're using German Shepherds or Rottweilers or Doberman or something. Oh, God Almighty. Um, there are a few questions that have come in. Jason was curious throughout your different jobs throughout the years, when did you feel like you were at your peak mentally and physically?
Uh, that's a hard one to answer. I know that my physically and mentally now at 82 is not what it used to be, but I stayed pretty much in shape certainly until in my 70s.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, most of our guys that we have on and all of that, unless they've were injured very, very badly in Vietnam or Agent Orange is set in, you guys stay pretty fit both physically and mentally. It's amazing seeing y'all's recall and attention to detail. I mean, y'all are taught that, but it's amazing the recall you guys have. Uh, Kyle, yes, that's an interesting question. Um, which is more challenging for a hostage rescue operation, a ship or an aircraft?
Ship, by all means.
Wow. Okay. And that
Even
was actually, go
half
ahead.
a airplane sometime.
Did you, and I was reading, well, not, I've read it, but I was looking over Jack Murphy's book that's out. And guys, if y'all don't have that, Mr. John Mullins has mentioned that actually a few times. Great book on the history of special forces and units not spoken about. But did you take place? Did you take part in any of the like the aircraft tests for the DoD that went down on in Hawaii and all of that? Did you work on some of the aircraft practice runs for rescues?
Yeah, at Fort Bragg, when all that stuff was happening, is after I'd finished down in Key West. I went back up to Fort Bragg, and we did a lot of work on how to enter a building, how to take good wall. we hadn't really been doing any training on all that stuff. You got it individually, but being able to actually go through a training program where you entry program basically that and into all sorts of things with airplanes, buildings. It was all there.
And y'all actually got to use real aircraft. Somehow the Army was able to get maybe was it Pan Am or one of the other, maybe Lufthansa, one of them, to let y'all have some runs on them. And I couldn't remember if y'all actually had the old body of one as y'all's own at Mott Lake or what have you to work
Yeah,
on whenever y'all needed to.
yeah, we did have one at Mott Lake, and we did have airlines that would fly in something and for us to practice on, so we'd know exactly what to look for if it ever went down.
Gosh, I mean that's one thing. Dede, Mr. James Stechkel gets into that in his book, and it's just amazing how uh, the technicians, the baggage handler men, and all of that seem to realize this important stuff's going on, and would give y'all all the stuff, and y'all would go in with the auspices that y'all are refueling the aircraft or loading baggage and all of that, to where if something goes on literally while y'all are on the job, y'all can just hop into it and get after it after all of this training y'all have been doing. And I've always thought that was just wild, to one day show up for work and it's y'all's day to practice or do something, and it's like y'all can take the day off. It's like, why? It's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it was Mott Lake was a very good operation. We
that
went there several times.
that's a very, and I'm glad Jack has been doing the rounds and talking about it, because I'd always assumed Mott Lake being secret and all that. I pictured it being out in like Nevada or something like that, where y'all are hidden off in the desert and no one can find y'all. And come to find out, it's right there at Fort Bragg. I had no idea about that, showing my ignorance on the subject. Um, we've got a viewer that did not. Wait, we've got one more question, and there's one that's really good because it's interesting to me as well. Kyle was curious: have you ever felt spooked while diving? It can be eerie down there sometimes.
Not really. It was panic just wasn't in my repertoire.
Jeez.
And we did all sorts of exercising, fighting underwater, fighting till you damn near drown. But you keep yourself together. If you don't, you are going to drown.
Wow, I hate to dogleg into that question, but did weapons, did y'all have to wrap them in cosmoline, keep them in packs or anything, or were y'all's weapons and ammo waterproof and ready to go as soon as you came up through the water line?
Yeah, you kept it in a bag attached to your kit. But underwater, there was no shooting. It was hand to hand, knife to knife.
Oh, that makes me instantly think of that video it's a few years old, but it's just now come out. I don't know if you've seen it. It's terrible to see the effects of the war up close and personal. The Ukrainian and the Russian having that battle over the knife, and unfortunately, the Russian ends up winning, and it is just a god awful 8-minute video of a battle to the death. I can only imagine what it would be like underwater, knife fighting somebody like James Bond who's trying to cut your water line or cut your throat. I mean, geez, God.
Yeah,
Um,
it was a whole new place for you to operate, and a lot of things that you had been doing for years and years really don't work that way.
we're speaking of fighting underwater or the possibility of it. Were y'all trained on using your knife in a combative way underwater or hand to hand combat? What would work considering slow motion in water? Or was it just you should know how to fight by now and stab somebody or what have you and do what you got to do? Or were y'all taught anything? Or,
That's one of the things that we did down in Key West.
oh,
It wasn't just the diving and get them ready for that. We did a lot of what you'd call underwater fighting.
wow. So, true sense of the word combat diving.
Yeah,
Wow, wow, wow. um, Someone was curious about the quick kill instinctive shooting program that you were a part of, and I can't remember if you actually ran it for a while.
I did. After coming back from Vietnam for the last time, I was still a little bit screwed up, so I couldn't go back to Special Forces. So I went down to Fort Benning, and there they had heard about my ability with a gun. So yes, I was the original Army instructor for Quick Kill.
Wow. And this is where they are starting out with a Daisy BB gun, and are y'all throwing plates up at the beginning, or are y'all just picking out targets to quick draw on, or
No, definitely shooting at aerial targets the first. And yes, Daisy was kind enough to send us the training guns there without any sights on them because you didn't have time for sights if you were shooting in something like that. It would had to become instinctive, totally instinctive, and that's what we game for. And yeah, we'd start with about a 4 inch circle and thrown up by the guy next to the shooter, and he could not have that thing on his shoulder because you get in a fight, probably likely he won't have it in your fight. So he had to get up, get it on his shoulder, and it was funny how quickly everybody took to it.
we've had a two guests on, one from CCN who took part in that when I think it was before he went to into SOG for his first tour that he took it, or maybe when he got back before a second. But he said it helped immensely because I mean, and most of the guys, including you, that I've spoken to, unless you were on an A team before, that most of the time 90% of the time you don't put your car 15 up to your shoulder. I mean, it's hip
Nope.
firing. I mean, as a matter of fact, I'm reading a book right now to where he's showing the new guys and the author of the book, some of the shooting from the hip technique, and they actually mention the quick kill method. And the guys are amazed that he can just slap a magazine in his car 15, walk up 2 or 3 rounds, and then completely empty the clip just like that from the hip. It's just like, whoa.
Yeah,
So
I never went for the hip thing. There are too many things that can be a mistake, and it doesn't make a difference in time. You're getting it to your hip or getting it to your shoulder.
mm,
And you're not looking at your gun, you're looking at the target. And the gun automatically tracks on the target.
wow. And we've heard that exact thing to where guys are getting ready, thinking when they're walking, watching a group of NBA move down the trail and thinking all they've got to do is look over to the right and obliterate us. And they mention they're watching the NBA, but somehow the car 15 is pointed at NVA without even them having to look at it.
Yep.
It's amazing how quick y'all pick up on stuff and tactics that are gonna keep you alive and running recon.
Now, if you had distances that you were talking about, then yeah, you went to the sites. You needed to do that. But up close and personal, no, you didn't have time for that.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember. Did and I always try to ask, especially the SAW guys and the Special Forces guys. Did you carry a sidearm at all, either in SOG or when you were with your A team?
I did, yes.
You did. Okay.
I did. And that wasn't for shooting somebody. That was for making sure I'd never get captured.
Oof, geez, Louise. Did you carry a Browning or a Colt or
Started out with a Browning, a good gun, and then various other guns as time went on.
hmm. Love those Brownings. Love seeing the photos of you guys with them. Those are some amazing pistols,
Yeah,
especially seeing some of the 1-0 awards, the chrome plated ones. That's pretty neat stuff.
the
Um,
the problem that we had with sidearms there in the first years in Vietnam is we got junk as far as sidearms. We got the stuff that some guy would open up his deal there, and the guns would you shake it and you could actually hear it rattle.
Jeez, that's what I was kind of curious about. Where in the heck? I mean, I know where the CAR-15s came from, but I'm wondering where all these other weapons came from that you guys were fighting with. The pistols, the grease guns, I'm sure, and clearly surplus. But I've always been curious about some of the requirements of the weapons they got you guys.
Yeah, they it was back in the first days, my first trip there in '63. They sent us over with M1s, and that you know, great gun if you're shooting at distances and that sort of thing. Not exactly what you want in jungle warfare. So we went to M2s, and they were adequate for what we were doing. They didn't have enough killing power and penetration power on targets and that sort of thing. But that was it in those days. We didn't get the M16 until, well, car 15, until I was clear into the next one there, into the next trip.
Wow, I mean, and I've heard, especially from the guys like yourself who were over there early on, when the first M16s came out, and just what rubbish they were, and got a lot of good people killed, a lot of Marines killed. Unfortunately, I forgot what Operation Swift Sword. That was just a nightmare, and finally showed that they needed to get the second version out of this thing out immediately, because it was just a nightmare.
Typical military procurement. The stuff goes into the various with places, and they get what they can get as the cheapest ones that are possibly out there, and you get it, and it's another one of those things that yeah, it you really had to worry about it functioning at all. And a lot of times they didn't use it.
Wow, I heard that that ball ammo for the initial M16 was just god awful. That's why they did the chrome plating and all of that. That it just, I mean, literally finding Marines in foxholes with the 16 broken apart with a cleaning rod jamming it down when the NBA rushed their positions. Just sad, sad stories like that.
Yeah, I mean, the way we treat our people, our soldiers, I'm hoping it's better now, but it was shoddy back in those days.
Uh, God, I mean, from what we see on all of these young men, either still active or just getting out, it seems to be a little bit of a mess up going on now as well too. I just I don't know what they can do to get things right. Well, I do know a few things, but I don't think I can say them on here because it probably wouldn't be too PC. Um, this is an interesting one. We've got a few more, and then we'll move into your post career because we're already at an hour, and I wasn't even going to try and keep you that long this morning. Uh, Throughout all your years in the military, who was the biggest man you served with, and who was the smallest, if you can remember, of course?
The smallest man was an Issei. He was his parents had been arrested during World War II, and he spent his younger years up in those camps that wouldn't let him out. But I'll think of his name here in a minute. But good guy, a hell of a soldier, and funny as hell. He always had a laugh.
That's amazing. Did you I just to butt in, maybe give you an instance on the biggest man. Did you know Lawrence Tiny Young from the Sante raid and Project Delta, and I believe he was on Blue Light with you?
No, that name doesn't ring a bell, but that's not unusual for those times. One of the things that I had, we had, it was when it was SOG. They put a guy in there that had been a football player and probably stood about 6'8" thereabouts and just muscles everywhere. And he wanted to go out on the team with me. And I said, no, in hell. I
You're too
said,
big to carry.
if if you got hurt, we'd have to quarter you to get you out of there.
Gosh, I see. And you mentioned, well, he was 6'8". This guy was about six. Jason Mike can help me if he remembers the exact, but 6'2", 6'3", about 250, 260. Big old man. And I wish I had a picture to bring up. Semi-pro football in Buffalo, and he had the same experience. They got into a few hot tizzies and ended up 6'3". Thank you, Jason. And the guy finally said, Big Bob Barnes, Joe Walker finally, and Tony Love said, we love the heck out of you, man, but we'd have to cut you up and put you in every Indig backpack just to get you home, and we can't do it. So he took over the bar.
It convinced them pretty quickly that they didn't want to be on the team.
Yeah. Yeah, and he and to be fair, he had run some recon for quite a while, and the guy said he said, I completely understand. Better keep everybody safe and than him trying to be out there doing something just to be doing it and get somebody hurt. So
it was hard enough to drag just the average body wounded person out of the line of fire. And you're a single person while everybody else is holding fire, trying to get that person back, and it's a lot harder than people think.
There's a gentleman we know that we've had on who was a part of a team, RT South Carolina, and the gentleman was Carlos Parker, and he had been hit by, I believe, a 12-7 or maybe an RPG, and it blew off from the knee down his leg, I think on his left leg, and his 1-1, a great big young guy at that time, a 21-year-old 1-1, 6'2", 6'3", about 220, 215. All of a sudden started getting dizzy. Malaria had just hit him, and he fell back, fell straight down the hill, and contact was made, and he had Carlos Parker, all 5'6" of him or 5'7" of him, had to carry this 6'3", 220-pound 1-1 of his fireman carry to the LZ. I'm amazed that it's y'all's strength and the adrenaline that stuff goes on like that y'all do. I mean, it is crazy.
It is necessary. The adrenaline kicks in, and you can do just about anything. But you don't want to do it again.
No, no. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Carlos said that next morning when he woke up, he could not get out of bed. His back was just wrenched. So,
Oh,
um, yes, Scott, Carlos is still alive and doing well. He's in his 80s, but last I've heard, he is doing well.
good.
Um, Mr. John, did you ever use a Sten gun? Kyle Smith is curious.
No,
No, no Sten gun for you.
I
Um,
I was not a big fan of guns that shot pistol rounds, and
mm,
really that's what they were.
yes, sir. What was the Sten shooting 9 or 45s? I can't even remember now.
Uh,
But
no, I was 30, 35, 36 caliber, I think.
oh, geez, Louise, wow, I didn't realize that. Yeah, that I'm always amazed at the guys that took out the Swedish K's and the Sten guns. There's Big Bob right there, all 240, 50 pounds of him.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
You know they're cool. They've seen it all in the movies and everything else.
yeah,
Once they go out and realize I'm undergunned here, they decide to trade that in and get a decent gun.
yeah. As a matter of fact, the story that always sticks out of my mind about a Swedish K is John Plaster using one for his first, I think, two operations and coming back and complaining. He's like, I've emptied a magazine into a guy and he runs off. Colonel, I need a gun. And he's like, well, we just got a few car 15s in and only the 1 zeros are supposed to have one, but I'll let you get one. And he immediately was like, I've found the greatest weapon of all time.
Yep, I'm
Um,
very happy with the M16, with the M16, the Car 15.
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then we've had some guys that just fell in love with the AK-47 and would use that on every operation they went on, even with having a car 15. Always amazed at those guys.
Yeah,
Um,
I was always leery of it. I mean, it's made in a factory somewhere in Europe. And is it going to work for me the entire time, or is it going to jam up?
mm,
Used to,
I,
I knew where to go to if I had a car 15 that jammed up, go shove it up his butt.
um, Daniel was curious about, and I can't remember if we even covered this last time. What was your code name and why?
Uh, I had various code names, but it was the one that was most used was Okie.
Of course, I love that. I wonder how many young men from Oklahoma had the nickname Okie. I got to think almost every one of them probably were called Okie.
Probably so, yeah.
Like somebody from New York being called New York or what have you.
Yeah,
I,
I think so.
I just feel there's
We,
something telling me.
we gave him a name, fucking Yankee.
I like one of the CCS guys. Um, he was from New York, and they called him Fast Eddie because he was so fast on the card table, and he talked so fast you couldn't understand him. So they called him Fast Eddie.
Yeah,
He
uh,
said, just passed away, unfortunately.
I've had any number of times to tell somebody slow down.
And I've recently been hearing, especially on the radios, when guys get excited, it's just like a long stream of it's like you got to stop and take a breath, man. Take a breath.
Exactly.
Um, okay, we've got two more questions, and we'll let you talk a bit about your post-military career, and I think we will have part two wrapped up here.
Sounds good.
Parker's still alive. Were you a M79 man? Did you ever carry one or use one or chop down one?
What? I'm sorry.
M79 grenade launcher.
Uh, I did not carry one. I had them farmed out to my indige. They loved it, but no, I wanted bullets.
I can absolutely understand that sentiment as well. Some of those Indige they could hit the wings off a gnat with those M79s. I've been surprised hearing about how deadly they were with those things.
They were very, very good at what they did.
Frank is curious as we close out we've got one more question from Jason. Was John the originator of frangible ammo or just a major spokesman?
No, I was the original.
Oh, just the originator or the original spokesman?
Yes, no, I was the original.
Oh, wow. Very good question, Frank. I did not know that. Um, and our last question, Jason was curious, did you ever have FAC duties? If no, did you have a favorite FAC while you were in the field? Can you tell us a story about a FAC helping you out while you were on the ground?
Say again. I'm sorry.
Were you ever a FAC, forward air controller?
Oh
And
no,
no?
no. I mean,
Uh,
capability to call in strikes, obviously, but no, I wasn't officially one.
did you have one on a favorite one that was around a lot while you were in the field or on the ground that you can remember?
Yeah, the one I liked the best was little. What the hell's the name of it? It's a big stinger, really, but they could get in very close and they were very accurate.
Wow. We love hearing about the fat guys. We've had, I think, four that were part of Halo operations and then some other big operations. And the bravery of those guys flying low and slow in those Broncos or those uh, are the O1, yeah, the O1 Broncos, or is it the OV10 Broncos? Yeah, the O1s and the OV10s. That just bravery beyond or craziness. They like to claim both.
Did, but all too often we had things that happened, like the Halo operation up very, very close to the north in Vietnam. And one of our guys got lost and they never did find him.
Oh God, yeah, that the Halo operations were always there were two or three that went okay, but the rest of them just seemed sketchy right off the bat. Just stuff going wrong. Geez. All right. We've gone through most of what we didn't cover last time. Yeah, well, I wonder if that was Madison Stroline, or were you talking about a indigenous man that went missing on the Halo?
Yeah, that matter of fact, I put a bunch of them through the school that we were using to to get into contained areas and gather information, then come back to me.
Oh wow, man, those Indige guys were just brave as can be. God Almighty. Let's see.
To
Oh, um, okay, I believe we have answered all of the questions that I had from viewers and such as that didn't get to watch last time. Um, let's see here. Oh, these two books, I found some write-ups of Project Borden and I can't remember the other project, Project Urgency or something. I had a little piece of paperwork here as we're transitioning to your post-military career.
Yeah.
Here's, I think you can't see it very clearly, but you can see some of the map from some of your agent inserts in 69 board and operations up here. I mean, that's way, way up there.
Oh yeah.
And of course it's too clear, but I think right here is the DMZ, and it from here north is getting into North Vietnam. That's when I was reading the operational profiles and stuff in here. It's and guys, that this is only 50 of these were made. He's trying to make some more. Y'all should get these and check these out. Some of the projects that Mr. John was a part of, and some of the other projects other than the recon men are spoken about in detail in these books. Just crazy, crazy stats and figures. Could you to close out the show today? Could you kind of tell us a little bit about what you ended up getting into your post-military career when you finally hung up the gun, so to speak?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I stayed in the same line of work. The first job that I had was to go to Saudi Arabia and train their judicial police. They were, and we did about 3 years worth of that. Got them up in pretty good shape as is witness to the fact that they were the outfit that stopped the enemy from entering the target there and pretty much shot them to pieces. I spent 3 years doing that and then decided I was going to come back to the U.S. and see the family if they still existed and still hadn't divorced me. And decided there I'd go back to school. So I went and got my master's degree and thought about going further, but finally realized what the hell am I going to do with that? So I did a lot of teaching there in Lawton. Then they closed that up there, so I got that and basically doing some work. People that knew me wanted me to go here or there. I think I've been to every place in the world except perhaps China. That's about it.
Holy cow! And I can't remember. Did Jack ask you, or I can't remember if I asked you last time, but you had some. Speaking of being everywhere, you had some incidences, or at least were over in Ireland during the Troubles, weren't you?
Yeah, I did. Met my best friend there. Was over. I was supposed to be. My cover was that I was a shoe salesman, and went finding out who the players were and who was on our side and who wasn't. I had no authority to do anything other than that. But I was sitting in a bar there, and a guy came and sat beside me, and we started chatting about each other. And he finally asked me, he said, well, what brings you here? I said, I'm a shoe salesman. He we have a couple more loggers. And then he said, you're no shoe salesman. I said, well, how do you know? He said, look down at your shoes. No good shoe salesman would wear brogans like that. And we've been friends ever since. The Brit, he was MI5.
Oh wow!
We've, as a matter of fact, he'll be back over here. He tries to come over here once a year, spend some time with us.
That's too cool. Wow, that's amazing. He He got you just from your shoes.
Yep.
That's great stuff. And been friends ever since. That's really cool.
Oh yeah.
Um, did now when and I again I may have gotten my timeline messed up here. Were you out of the military when this proposed Pablo Escobar situation in Colombia came up, or were you still active duty? Or
Oh, I was out of the military, but I was down there
wow,
working for the State Department nominally. I was down there training their police
Well,
and changing hotels every other day because they'd find out where we were and blow the hotel up. Got to where they got to where we couldn't find a hotel anywhere. And it was so we went out into the environs and got different little places out there, and it made it more difficult for them at least. And we'd take taxis to wherever we were going, and we were just another person in a taxi. We didn't go together. There were 6 of us total. We'd all take a different taxi and go to whatever project we were working that day. One of the last ones that I did, I'd just done a survey of DOS, their Departmental Administrative, their equivalent of the FBI and the CIA. And it was one giant piece of glass right out in the middle of a totally unguarded plaza all around it. And one of my deals was, for God's sake, at least put something on those glasses that'll keep the shrapnel down if somebody sets a charge off. So I was going to tell them all this. I headed back out to the DOS and had a driver this time who was being slow as ass so they could run up price on getting me out there. And I kept giving him hell. Speed up. I need to do this. I need to get out there. And we got about 3 blocks away, and the whole world just went whoa. So I gave that driver the best, biggest amount of money he's ever had, and went on foot as far as I could out to the building, and it was annihilated. They had pulled a school bus full of ANFO into that area there and set it off. And all the glass, of course, when it became shrapnel. I've forgotten exactly how many were killed, but it was a lot. And I'm there, walking around in my shoes, trying to help for these poor bastards, and getting blood all the way up the top of my shoes. That's how that's how bad it was.
yeah, I mean, this is when he's essentially, waging all out war against Colombia, the Colombian government. I mean, he takes over at one point. He ends up getting tanks or what have you, or APCs, and taking the Supreme Court over. I think he even assassinates a lot of the justices. They changed the extradition there for a while. I mean, that's out of all the things you've done. I mean, SOG and being on the Cambodian border is pretty dadgum dangerous. But when you had Pablo Escobar's men hunting you down, that's pretty hairy stuff right there.
There was a detachment out of Fort Bragg down there, incognito, of course.
Oh,
They were doing intel, and one of them buttonholed me and basically knew me from Fort Bragg. Said you need to tell the people there that you're working for, to the State Department at the time, that where they can find Pablo Escobar. So I approached my American uh, boss there, and I said, I know where we can find him. I'd like to give that to somebody who can take care of it. And they chewed my ass up to one side and down. No, you will not do that. You will absolutely not do that. That is not our agency. So you stay out of it. Well, needless to say, I went ahead and do it. It wasn't long after that they caught Pablo and killed him.
Jeez, yeah. I mean, seeing some of the stuff that was going on some of these documentaries, it's like, he had more than just what's claimed on the payroll, because he was getting, until the Americans and the supposed Delta guys, and then the guys doing the 24-hour radio intercept, until they showed up at Center Spike. Thank you. There you go, Frank. Uh, it just seems like he was just doing whatever he wanted to do, riding around in that taxi and conducting business as normal.
Big house out there with all the animals in it, and everybody knew where it was and what he was doing, but nobody wanted to take him on. So we took care of that.
Yeah, y'all did that. Y'all nipped him in the bud real quick. Pardon the pun there, but that was over with in no time. What did when did you decide? Because I know you've got a series and then some one-off books, meaning a singleton book, a story on itself. When did you decide to start writing and putting some of your experiences down on paper? Maybe not your personal stories, but at least events inspired by your career.
In Saudi Arabia. It's goddamn boring there. So I'd be sitting out there in the desert and observing an operation, and I'd be jotting down notes. I had a stack of notes by the time I finally came back to the States, and shoved it off to the side. Was doing way too much on other things, and then finally decided, yeah, some of this is worth a book. So I started writing.
Wow, that's amazing. And we had one question up at the top that was, and it's got to be hard asking an author. It's almost like asking a parent who's your favorite child. But do you have in your writings, do you have a personal favorite book that you've written?
Personal favorite is the one I'm writing now.
Oh.
It's a full scale, not a novel. It's everything that happened over the course of my life.
Oh, well, an authentic biography on you.
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah. I got to add that to the notes to make sure I get a book when it comes out. Order it up. Wow. I know a lot of people will be excited to hear this. Yeah, I've got to, one of your books popped up the other day on a, gosh, I forgot what book club it was, but I think it was Napalm Dreams, or
yeah,
I think it popped up and it looked good. And I've got a few in my order, Amazon order basket, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and suffer the consequences with the credit card and go ahead and order some books and get to reading them.
Yeah, I have a tendency to invent a name and then have to write a book behind it.
That's great. Hey, from everyone in the comments and who I've spoken to that have read your books, they say you can just keep writing as many as you want, and they'll keep buying them because they absolutely love them. Can't believe in all of my readings haven't come across and bought one of yours yet, but I'll be fixing that sometime today when I get that order in. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like to speak on before we shut down for the day?
What was it? You would ask me. Huh?
The dentist.
The dentist, yeah, I told him about that.
Okay, that was the only one.
There was another one, but don't remember what it was. This old age sucks.
Well, if you think about it and want us to do something or film a little quick
Oh,
put out.
I remember now what it was.
Oh,
The Frangible.
oh yes, yes.
Yeah, I had seen while I was working up in the D.C. area. I had seen some attempts at Frangible. One came from England, and it came apart far too easily. So it really wasn't something you wanted. And I thought, I can pick something better than that. So about 2 years later, and more money than I want to talk about, I had a product, and it was and it's still in use.
Wow. Okay, that's what someone in the comments was saying, that it's still in production and all of that. I'll actually have to look up some of it because I had no idea what he was talking about when he left the comment. So that's
Yeah,
very interesting.
I wanted particularly for CQB.
Oh, okay.
Something where you could be up close and personable and not worry about shooting Aunt Millie over next door.
Oh, okay. Wow. Jeez Louise, I mean, you've done it all. I mean, from inventing stuff to writing your books to running recon to working the agent inserts, dentistry, well, as a special forces medic. I mean, woof. I mean, wow. Um,
My wife is completely unimpressed about all of it.
well, we certainly are, and we can't thank you enough because heck, we've pushing up hour and 15 now, so we've covered some great topics, and I'm just glad you've been open to sharing with us and to sit down for two of these with us. It means a great deal, and we'll
Yeah,
always, if you'd like to, whenever your new book comes out, if you'd like some free promotion, we'd love to have you on and you can talk a little bit about it.
there was one other thing that
Hmm.
we didn't talk on, and that was I had been out to Hollywood to see if I could get a movie going. Had no success there, but then I was introduced to an outfit that did
Video games.
video games.
Oh gosh, the Soldier of Fortune video game.
Yep,
Yes.
yep. So they asked me if I would let them use my name on the Soldier of Fortune. I said, "Are you going to pay me?" They said, "Yes." And I said, "Then you have your answer." So then they asked me to go up to Wisconsin, I guess it is, and try to make it somewhat more realistic, the game itself, but didn't have a lot of success. They had to do a lot of the hoo-ha, but it became a very successful game, one and two.
Oh yeah, I there's guys that have commented or reached out or heck, Jack was always talking about it when we were talking about you, and he said that's actually the first place I came across him and didn't even know he was a real person until a little bit later on when I got to investigating stuff. So I thought that was neat. I was looking. They've got a web page up of a little bit of your storyline and then some still frames from the video game, and it looks pretty cool, especially for as early it was. It looks like it was a fun video game. I wish I would have been a little older and been able to get on that, but by the time I was playing video games, all these Call of Duties and all of that was around, and you couldn't get anything else in my hand.
Look up the TV show too,
The Soldier of Fortune TV show.
sir.
Mhm.
Oh wow. I
So
mean,
well,
Yep.
wow. Okay. I've just made a note of that to look into that as soon as we get done. Wow. Thank you for mentioning that, man. I did not know about that. Wow. All righty. If you think we've covered it all, I think we can call it a day on part 2.
I can't think of anything more at the moment. I'm sure something else will come up.
Well, like I said, if you'd like to come back on when you get finished with the new book and get a little free promotion and such, we'd love to have you back on.
It works for me.
All righty. Well, thank you much, sir, and I'll be in touch with you and see how you're doing and stay up with you. So everybody, thank y'all for joining us, and we'll see y'all later on. See y'all.
Bye.